Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act.
In this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about Stardew Valley, reviews, and we have part one of our interviews with Mike Brace.
Welcome to the Kindness Project. I'm joined by a man that had too much to drink and a girl that never drinks this week.
This week, as opposed to any other week.
Well, usually you don't.
Week, Russ. Why is this week different?
Sorry, usually you don't turn up to recordings half cut.
I mean, I'm not. Number one, I'm not half cut. I'm actually stone cold sober. However, what Russ is alluding to, listeners, is we had quite a long lunch yesterday with our dad, not me and Charlotte's dad, because I'm her dad, Raz and I's dad, and a few very nice bottles of wine we can chew. So I am feeling the effects. Stop looking at the kitchen.
Only a couple.
But I want to talk about something else, actually. What I want to talk about is Charlotte's current obsession with Stardew Valley.
Oh, yeah.
And, right, don't play Stardew Valley.
I'm not playing Stardew Valley. I don't know if you remember, but you asked me to prepare my game show.
Oh, we've got a game show this week. I forgot about that. She's hiding her game show. Before we do that, tell our audience about the fact that you love Stardew Valley, and you said the phrase, "Stop bogging at my farm," to me when I was just trying to observe you playing it.
I'm a bit of a miss. Where is Stardew Valley?
It's a cozy game. It's a farming sim.
Yeah. I know what you mean now.
Also, you can develop relationships with the people of the town. You can marry one of them if you want to, and you can fight monsters. And you can. It's great.
I downgrade from cities skylines by the sound of it.
But the City Skylines is a cozy game, though, isn't it? Because it's not like.
I like it, yeah.
My cozy game at the minute is I've just got the new PGA golf game, and even though I am shockingly bad at golf in real life, I quite like computer game golf. It's quite a cozy.
I don't want to upset anybody that enjoys golf, but it just makes me feel like shooting myself.
Sorry, Russ, that is a bit of an extreme reaction to golf.
It does. The boredom of golf just...
No, but what we're talking about is, like, there is some... I mean, I feel the same way about cricket. I mean, number one, we've just insulted everybody who loves...
Cricket's another sport I just can't watch.
I used to play cricket when I was little.
But I think the point that Charlotte's making and I'm making is there is some satisfaction, not in boredom, but in slow.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it hasn't got to be all runny, shooty. Like,
I live in the slowest part of the country, I think. Where it's all retirement. But
that's the thing. Where you live, where I've got enough like excitement in my life, I need something to
level it out.
Yeah, we live in Glasgow and London. You live in where?
I live in Norfolk.
Norfolk, slowest part of the country, according to somebody who lives there, not us. Right? So we didn't say it. We've already upset the golf fans and the cricket fans.
I used to play cricket when I was little. I don't have a lot of memories of it, but I remember that.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
I don't remember.
No. Okay.
I don't play shoot 'em ups or anything like that. Any fast-paced games.
I'm not good at FPS.
I like the more psychological games like Civilization or like
Another game I'm obsessed with at the moment. Give Disco Elysium a go.
Disco Elysium is meant to be amazing.
I'll have a look.
Yeah, Disco Legion makes me amazing. But the other interesting thing, you using the phrase cozy, because
It's the genre.
I know, but I read a cozy murder mystery.
That's funny.
And that, I mean, it was set in a quaint English village. It was written by somebody I know, actually. And it was set in a quaint English village. And yes, there was a murder in it, and the murder got solved. But primarily, it was about cake and people eating cake.
Sounds good.
That's funny.
There was a lot of cake. There was more cake than detective. Yeah, there was a lot more cake than death in this murder mystery because it was a cozy murder mystery, and there was a lot more eating of cake than detecting of murderers.
Detectives have got to eat.
I know, mainly cake apparently.
What was the murder mystery?
Sorry. It was called Much. Oh, I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember. But it was a part of a series written by a guy called Peter Hyson. And it was set in the village of Much Slaughter. Much Slaughter is where it's set. Look it up. It's on Amazon. I put it on Kindle.
I didn't realise he was an author.
He's written a couple of books, actually. Yeah.
I'll have to have a look.
Yeah, so one of his books is about navigating the next stages of your life. And Peter's a really interesting guy, actually, so worth checking that out. And then he's just started writing these set of cozy murder mysteries, but all of the characters in the book are based on parts of the UK. So basically, is the lady protagonist's dog is called Dagenham. So
is it a mouthy little thing?
Tennis and cricket. You've now insulted everybody from Dagenham.
They know it.
They know it, apparently.
There are apparently very wide words from Dagenham in there.
On that note, and talking of games, I'm hoping this game's cozy. Last week, we asked Charlotte to live up to her promise of having a little game show for us.
Just before we go to the game, can we just quickly plug the book? We're up to 10 5-star reviews on the book, all people that have read it. And I just wanted to...
As opposed to people just randomly adding their own reviews and not reading.
I've heard of it, but...
Some people do.
Chris seems like a nice bloke. We'll give him a 5-star review.
They all look like familiar names that you've used, so I did wonder.
Sorry, are you accusing me of? Are you accusing me of just reviewing my own book 10 times? What are you saying? Yeah. Christina Dampier. No, they're not written by me. They're written by people who have actually read the book and hopefully enjoyed it. Give The Kindness Project by Christina Dampier a little look on Amazonian. No, right, let's get serious now. We need to flog some books to raise the money for charity here. So let's get our head in the game. It's The Kindness Project by me, Chris Dames, and it's based. It's the stories of what inspired us to start the podcast, what we've learned from interviewing loads of amazing people over the past 5 years. 100% of the proceeds go to charity. We'd absolutely love for you, dear listener, to buy a copy of the book, enjoy it, review it on Amazon, and share the good vibes. So yeah, that's what I'm like. Is that a good enough plug, Russ?
That is a good enough plug. Thank you very much.
And what I might do after the game show, I might read the latest review because I'm glad you picked that up. I haven't seen that, so I might see what that says. Charlotte, what's the game show?
So sort of taken from your concept, but not in the way Russ did it.
What? It lock, stock, and barrel, you mean?
This is a little game show I like to call Where in the World.
Ooh,
when I was little, we used to play Where in the World is Carmen San Diego. So that's sort of where the title comes from. I don't need to explain my creative processes to people. Fine.
Right, go on. Stop looking at my creative processes.
Yeah. So
Stop
the
bugging
concept
up my
is
creativity.
I'm gonna give you guys a fact, and you guys have to tell me which country this fact is true about.
Okay, cool.
Go on then. You know what, Charlotte? And Rose, just for you mainly, it looks like you've actually put some work into this concept. Well done.
Oh, that.
Russ,
Depends
Are you
on how many
listening?
I get right. I'll be saying well done if I do well.
right, go on then.
Okay. Round one. It was the first country in the world to accept women into its national forces.
I know this. Are you going to give us a couple of options?
No.
Okay, what are you going to go for? I think I know this anyway, but
Sorry, what was it?
It was the first country in the world to accept women into its national forces.
Germany.
I'm going to go for Israel.
You're both wrong.
Oh,
It was Brazil.
oh, amazing. This might be a bit harder than our ones, Russ.
Yeah.
There's,
I was going to do multiple choice, but I was like, nah, be
there's-
nasty.
there's not a 50-50 chance on this one, Russ. We might be in a lot of trouble.
What's the next one?
Temperatures in a valley in this country can range from 49 degrees Celsius in the summer
It's definitely in the United States.
to minus 29 degrees Celsius in
Oh,
winter.
that might not be Death Valley then.
Right, go on, say that again.
Temperatures in a part of this country can range from 49 degrees Celsius in summer to minus 29 degrees Celsius in winter.
Oh.
I have taken what the name of the place is out of my notes, so I don't remember.
Oh.
But I do know what country it is.
Hmm. What are you going to go for, Raz?
I'm going to go for the States.
I'm going to go for Canada.
You're both wrong.
Ah!
It's China.
China.
Oh, China.
Yes.
We're doing really well on this one, Raz, aren't we? Can you give us a couple of options for the next one? Make it easier.
No.
No option.
I think we're both going to end with Neil Pryor. But
No option. So I'm quite enjoying this.
The oldest modern human fossil in the world was found in a cave in this country.
Nepal.
No. Ethiopia.
You're both wrong.
Oh, God. Go on.
It's Laos.
Laos. Right.
Please know I picked these countries by doing a random country generator. This isn't being mean or nothing.
So what you did is you used a random country generator and then found the facts about that country, right? Give us one more.
I've got three more of these. Okay.
We might get a point at some
I'm
point.
about to get that gun out again.
We might win a point over the next 10 years of playing this game. Go on.
French and Spanish forces fought battles for control of this place before a truce was agreed in 1697.
Oh no.
That wasn't in 1697 and it wasn't French and Spanish, was it, Russ? I'm going to go for
Guyana.
the Dominican Republic.
You're right.
Dominican Republic for the win.
Okay, next question.
I got a point, Russ.
Are we done?
In the hardest quiz in the world. Go on.
The national animal of this country is the fennec fox.
Oh, fennec fox. Where would a fennec fox? This is really good, by the way. Fennec fox.
I'll go Canada for that. It sounds quite Canadian, Penwick.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna fennec fox. I'm gonna go Uruguay.
Algeria. They live in the desert. They're fennec foxes.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Last one.
The Algerian desert that's world famous. Go on.
Sahara Desert.
Of course it is, yeah. Yeah, because you go over the Okay. Can I take a step back? Number one, I'm feeling quite tired this morning. Number two, I appreciate that I do sound a bit foolish because the Sahara Desert is quite famous. So thank you for pointing that out. I'll keep on digging. That famous, that really lesser known desert called the Sahara. But I did get, I am a point up. Can I just point that out? I did get Dominican Republic.
Okay, last one. This country was once home to a research centre that was built underwater.
Australia.
Oh, God. New Zealand.
No, Sudan.
Sudan, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And on that note, Chris wins the entire show based on his educated guess of Dominican Republic.
That lesser known desert. I'm going to look that up later.
Well, the Sahara. Yeah. Look that one up. And just to detract from how useless we were at that quiz, Russ, I'd like to read the latest. And thank you. Who this is? I don't know who it is. It's JW. Entertaining, funny, thought-provoking, and rewarding is the review. Chris James's book, The Kindness Project, provides a much-needed antidote to the aggression of the modern world. Sometimes we can be just too blinkered and wrapped up in our own little world, and we need a reminder of how easy it is to spread kindness, even just with a simple smile. The book is that reminder, written in an informal and honest style with plenty of humour. The Kindness Project is an entertaining, thought-provoking and rewarding book. Everyone should read it and spread those ripples of kindness around the world. It's quite nice, isn't it?
Yes.
I like that a lot. So thank you to JW for reviewing the book. We absolutely appreciate everybody who buys the book because, as we said, we want to raise as much wonga for St Francis Hospice as possible. And I'm surprised that a man capable enough to write apparently a kind, honest, open and funny book doesn't know where the Sahara Desert is in Nigeria.
We won't hold it against you.
Oh, thanks, mate. I appreciate that. On that note, let's move on to... Oh, that's a compliment. Zoom's just said, "Are you playing music?" Now, I wouldn't actually describe that as music per se, but let's see. Right, give us the story.
Every time you insult my intro skills, I'm just going to redo the intro.
Right, what's the story this week?
Podmorden, sisters grow and hand out 240 tomato plants. Two teenage sisters from West Yorkshire have grown and distributed 240 tomato plants to help their local community. Girl Guides Mabel, 13, and Phoebe, 14, spent months nurturing plants from seed and now have shared the fruit of their labour in the Upper Calder Valley. The project was coordinated by Calder Community Cares, and a charity describing itself as an outlet for kindness. It was nice to see someone not so well off get something nice they can work on, Mabel said. Some plants were taken to people's homes in Todmorden, while others were gifted to the local Incredible Edible project. This scheme grows vegetables in communal areas for anyone to help themselves to.
Oh, I like that idea.
Emma Johnson, who received a plant from the girls, said, "It's fantastic. It's good to see young people helping out. It's unexpected, very kind, and will come in very useful." Phoebe said, "People are usually very happy with what they're receiving. It's nice to see people enjoy something you've put work into. You're giving back to the community." Mabel added, "It's nice to know lots of people get fresh, homegrown tomatoes out of it." Their mother, Louise, said she was extremely proud of them for carrying out the project. They've got so much out of it themselves, it's been really enriching for them. They see how much it means to people when they carry out these acts of kindness. It's wonderful for everybody.
I absolutely love that, because that is something fairly small that actually has a really positive impact, and it brings the community together, doesn't it? You know, you've got. I'm a big fan of community projects that
Yeah.
stretch through generations and
Great stuff as well. There's a lot to be said about growing your own stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. And so, I mean, we're not too into it, but my other daughter, who's been on the podcast a few times, Sophie, absolutely loves growing stuff and like sort of creating her own food. It's just a brilliant habit to get into. And on that note, we won't do that other news article because we're going to move on to the rest of the show. We've got the amazing legend of a human being, Mike Brace, on this week. Mike has lived a fairly amazing life. He was involved in an accident early in his life that meant that effectively he was blinded, but went on to have the most incredible experiences, both inspiring himself, helping other people, being really community focused. And I just wanted to get on and get him on the podcast and share his story. So let's hear from Mike.
Mike, how are you?
Good. Yeah? No, yeah. Very good.
Absolute pleasure to have you on the Kindness Project. I'm really excited about chatting today. Let's start with a really nice open question. Just tell us a bit about you.
Okay. I was born and brought up in Hackney in North London, and basically really interested in sport and all the different things that I suppose most young kids are interested in.
What was your sport when you were a kid?
I was captain of the primary and junior schools cricket and football team, so I was a bowler because I didn't want to get hit by the ball when I was batting, so I didn't mind throwing at everyone else.
Yeah.
And I was a forward in those days in the football. And they were the main things, and then a bit of athletics in, as and when the need arose. Eton Manor used to be the big sports days for the schools in those days.
The interesting thing is your consideration that Hackney's North London. I in my head, and I know I should know this, but in my head, Hackney's an East London place, right?
It is. The borough is an E thing, but Stoke Newington, which is where I grew up in Hackney, was N16.
Right. Okay. So it straddles.
It's always very confusing, all around Stamford Hill, and really great childhood. I was very entrepreneurial in the business sense. So I used to deliver kosher poultry for all the Jewish community in Stamford Hill.
Quite a big market in Stamford Hill, I'd imagine.
Exactly. On my bike, I was there on my cycle going up and down and delivering, and then getting sixpence a delivery plus tips. So, quite and very streetwise, out and about on my bike or go-karting and stuff like that. And then I was playing football over the local park, saw some kids gathered around looking at something on the floor. I went over and said, "What are you doing?" They told me to get lost. And on the floor was a black medicine bottle. So I picked the bottle up to see what it was. Just as the banger inside it blew up. So my introduction to disability was pretty rapid.
And what age was that?
That was 10. So 10. I was 10. Went through hospital, came out, had a bit of sight in the eye that was injured, but full sight in the eye that wasn't injured. And then, unfortunately, that developed a thing called sympathetic ophthalmia, and sight in the good eye then went to nothing.
Right.
And basically, I had a bit of sight in the eye that was injured, and then I again, at a football match, wanting to support my team, wanted to make as much noise as possible. So I was blowing a bugle. And unfortunately, the pressure of blowing the bugle then hemorrhaged the back of the eye and detached the retina. And so I literally woke up, I think I was 12, totally blind. So,
Right.
And then basically, in those days, you went to special schools, which was a bit good on one level for sport, bad on the level for education, really very poor outcomes. When I left there, you were almost groomed into a job that they regarded was suited for you and your level of ability.
Yeah.
And in those days, when the school I went to, you were going to be a shorthand typist, an audio typist, or a telephonist.
Yeah, and that were the only that were the only options, right?
And so I got pushed into shorthand typing. Hated it really, nice enough environment, but just thought I could do more, but didn't have the qualifications, and work wasn't very exacting. So I was managed to then do 2 A levels, one on a correspondence course and one on evening class, and then could do my studies while work wasn't very busy. And so I managed to get the 2 A levels, and I thought, hold on, I've got 2 A levels now, I should do something with them. So fairly used to chatting away to various people. So I went off and applied to do a social work training course at North London Poly, and surprisingly got accepted. And for me, that was just a massive turning point.
And what was, I suppose the big factor there is how adaptable they were to studying. So how did you find studying for the A levels and then studying for the degree? And did they provide audio resource? How did it work in terms of?
No. In those days, there's virtually nothing available. The correspondence course was all in print, and therefore I had to get my wife or someone else to read
it,
the materials.
Yeah.
Any essays and any writing you did was luckily on a typewriter, which meant as a typist I was probably a slight advantage in that I could do the typing really quickly.
Yeah.
But you couldn't check then whether it had come out or correct it easily. So you had to get someone to proofread any essays or whatever. And then the evening classes, my wife came to most of the evening classes and could write notes for me and for herself. And at the end of the day, she then didn't bother to do the exam, but I then did I did sociology evening class, and I did English literature on the correspondence course.
That's interesting. So effectively, your wife did exactly the same academic courses as you. Went through the same process.
Yeah. So but then didn't get the A levels at the end of it.
Yeah.
She'd
what an amazing partnership, though.
Yeah. She got O levels and stuff like that at school. Whereas when I left the special school, I ended up with the most qualifications in the history of the school, which had been there for like 80 years.
Yeah.
And that were 2 O levels and a grade 1 CSE, which was an O level passing.
I'm going to pretend I know what they are.
I know. I know.
I think so I'm 45, so I was probably one of the first GCSE generation.
Yeah.
To do that, but it was I suppose the interesting thing is that drive for aspiration. Where do you think that comes from you? Because as you say, the expectations and what you've done have been slightly different.
I think the drive was in those early days was the attitude that I got from the people around me. So as a 10-year-old, I suddenly moved from being a child to a child with a disability, but was seen very often as a disabled child.
Yeah.
And the attitude, the way that people spoke to you, the expectation was that you'll never achieve anything, never do anything, was really for me like a red rag to a bull,
Yeah.
you know, because I thought even at that 11, 12, 13, I thought, how dare you make assumptions about who I am, what I'm capable of. And that was the driving force, really, that's stayed with me for the last 60 years.
But that's interesting, isn't it? That element of, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah. Soon as someone said
I can.
Soon as someone said you can't possibly do that, that's the thing then I wanted to do, whether it be in sport, whether it be in work, whether it be, study or whatever. Then basically that was like lighting the paper for me in terms of saying,
I'm going to show you that it's possible. No, I love that. So went to the poly, got the sort of qualification degree in social work. What happened next?
I started then working in social work in Tower Hamlets, first of all, one of the London boroughs. And that was, in the early days, was what they used to call generic social work. So you dealt with adults, you dealt with children, you dealt with really anything that was thrown in your direction.
Yeah.
My main focus, I suppose, really from those early days was juvenile offenders and youngsters. And for me, I suppose, in some ways, my experience of disability and people's attitudes to me really influenced then my working with the kids, because basically what I wanted them to have is the chance to make better choices or different choices in their lives, like I had often been denied making those choices, but actually trying to enable them to have those options.
How much do you think, and again, I've just got no experience of this, I'm relying on your expertise. How much do you think we could change in young people's lives if we just expected better?
I think that's right. I think what we're often looking at is the feel or the need to control and advise rather than enable. And I think that's the issue, is enabling them to have that dialogue. And I do think one of the worry of the social media bit of it is they lose that personal interaction. It's done, and then they very often will find a situation that they've very little chance of having any personal experience of, whether it be dialogue, whether it be conflict, whether it be because it's always been slightly remote.
I think technology is amazing, and certainly we love like sort of what the podcast has done for sort of Charlotte and Al's relationships and stuff like that. But you're right, social media is a really interesting one, because I remember having a conversation with somebody who was actually a bit older than me, who was involved in local politics. And he said to me, we was having this chat, and he said to me, you know what annoys me? When we try and do something for the greater good, for the positive, I'll go onto Facebook and suddenly I'll get all of these negative comments.
Yeah.
I said, well, what do you do? And he went, I respond because I'm angry.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, right, just answer me one question, and I don't know the answer, but I'd love to know your response. How many times have you done that, and the person's come back and gone, you know what, you've made a really fair point, you've changed my mind? And he went, never. I was like, maybe you need to change the way you engage.
I think, technology probably has been one of the biggest things that's transformed my life in terms of equalising access to information, etc. But the other side of that is that a lot of the technology then in accessibility issues, and where you've got all the issues that you've just raised, then as soon as that becomes the only way that you can get hold of anyone or get an information advice, then a lot of people are then excluded from that. So.
Yeah, it's just having those human conversations and making sure that's part of the mix, isn't it?
Very much so.
Yeah.
And in some ways, obviously, when I worked into Hamlets, you could utilise. The interesting thing was about the dilemma that I had was, when to use my blindness as
an
a
asset.
positive.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was a lot of the truants would wait for me to come round on my visits to then help show me where to go, because on some of the estates they were quite tricky using a white stick to find your way. And these kids would say, oh well, I'll see you tomorrow at 9 or whatever I'd make, and then you'd have this chance to have a dialogue with them. Or some of the kids in care when I used to visit, and many of them were, having problems with literacy, and I'd get them to read me the football summaries and stuff like that, reports, and they would struggle, but it was legitimate to read those to a blind person. Normally they wouldn't be seen dead sort of talking like that or reading it.
And it was a method of engagement, right? It was a way to get those kids involved. You know what, it was funny, I mean, when you mentioned about when you first started your career in social work and you said you had everything thrown at you, it reminded, because I've read your books, and it reminded me of a story of when you were in a flat and people were throwing stuff at you.
Yes, and you were trying to move around the tables and stuff like that, or one of them offered me something to eat, and normally you'd be very wary of it, and I thought it was a pickled onion or something, because it was like this round thing floating around, and it was a sheep's eye. And luckily I couldn't see it, because it was obviously winking at me.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably fortunate. I think that was what shined through when I read the books. It's just like this sense of humour in terms of, and how important has that been in sort of in your life and sort of managing the sort of disability and looking at where you are?
I think it's been crucial for me in terms of there are situations that you would literally cry over if it really just hit home. On the alternative, and the other way that I do when I do quite a lot of after dinner stuff, what I tend to try and do is to get people laughing with me at those situations, but in the comfort of their own minds, because most of them in the audience may be sitting there thinking, oh goodness, that would have been me that had done that, or I would have said the wrong thing, or I would have thought, and so they have a chance to laugh with me at their, if you like, their own attitudes and whatever. But in the comfort that no one's going to know that.
Yeah, and I think that humour is the great leveller, isn't it? You know, it's one of those things that you can sort of you can sort of do. What's your favourite story to share?
Oh, there's so many. It's more around a couple of good ones, really. One, I was waiting at Millbank, waiting to cross the road, and I'm standing with one white stick. And Millbank in Westminster, really busy junction, 2 or 3 lanes either side. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to get across here on my own. And basically, someone came up the side of me, tallish, really like, I said, excuse me, is there any chance you could take me across the road? And the bloke said, yeah, no problem. And I said, could I take your arm? And he said, you could if I had one. and I thought, what are the odds of a blind man asking a man with no arms? So I grabbed his sleeve and over we went. And another one, really, 50 years it took me to get a guide dog. And I got a guide dog in 2010 for the first time. And her name was Izzy, I-Z-Z-Y. Beautiful black lab retriever, beautiful dog, Izzy. And I thought, now, things are going to change now, the attitudes and stuff like that. And despite what people think, you do have to tell the dog, left and right or where to go. And I'm on the crossing, and I'm going left to the gym and right to go home. I'm on the crossing, and her name's Izzy, so she, I said forward, and I said, Izzy right. And the woman in front of me said, "How do I tell?" And I said, "I beg your pardon." She said, "How do I know if he's right or wrong?" I said, "No, madam, her name's Izzy. I'm telling her to go right." And I could feel her blushing from where I was standing.
Oh, I love that.
But just unbelievable, really.
Talk to me about the decision to get a dog. What made you wait, and what made you decide to get a dog at 10, 12 years ago?
When I was a youngster, the only people you knew that had a dog were old.
Yeah.
And I mean old. They were 50, 60, 70, and you didn't really ever have much contact. And the mantra at the school was, you have to be mobile. You have to be able to use the stick. You have to be, and so almost the badge of honour was your level of mobility using your white stick.
Gotcha.
And the mantra really was, if you had good mobility, use the stick. And if you were old and had bad mobility, you got a dog.
Yeah,
and so for 50 years, you didn't want anyone to think you had bad mobility, and that's why you got a dog.
Has your attitude changed to that?
As I became towards retirement, and to be also fair, the sort of jobs that I've had, I really don't think that a dog would have been a good issue. I worked in a prison unit for adolescent girls, quite disturbed adolescent girls, and they potentially could have used the dog as a weapon against me, etc. So some of the environments I've worked in just
it made sense not to.
And so coming up to retirement, I think the environment steadily got worse with street parking and street furniture and overhanging branches and and I thought, I should really.
It's about time.
And now I'm the old generation. It doesn't matter whether people think I've got good mobility or not. So I thought I'll give it a whirl, and it's been fantastic.
Love it.
I probably used my skills more with the dog than I did with the stick.
Well, I suppose it's a different portfolio of skills, isn't it? It's like sort of making sure that you're sort of you've got the relationship with the dog that means the dog wins and you win.
And I think the trust transfer, because I've been involved in the sports side of it, where I've been reliant on someone else for guiding me in the running or the skiing or whatever, then transferring that trust over to a dog was probably easier for me than some, because I've had to do that. Aspects.
The last time we met, I did say to you, how do you, when you're slinging yourself down the mountain at 80 miles an hour, how do you build that trust? And you said to me, I start on cross country, which is only about 40 miles an hour. I was like, still quite a great degree of trust.
I think it is that, but basically that's built up,
over years.
People said, I can't imagine going blind and doing that. Well, of course, no one does it the first day or second day. I mean, I went skiing probably 10, 15 years after I'd lost my sight.
Right.
So you're learning different skills, different ways of coping. You've had, trust built up in other settings.
But Mike, in any aspects of our life, and I think actually sports and athletics has been really good in communicating the importance of this. It's all about incremental gain, isn't it? It's all about nobody goes from 0 to 100. It's like, how do you just get 1% better every time you do it? And it's like sort of then that Dave Brailsford, Sky GP, the cycling team. That I think that actually the way they've communicated that since 2012, bizarrely, because that's when that sort of came to prominence, I think has probably encouraged more people to go, well, I don't need to be perfect. I just need to start and just slowly get better. I think that's been a good education.
And for me, it's been so massively part of my life and importance, because I suppose in some ways sport has given me 4 opportunities, really. First opportunity is to show to myself what my abilities are, because everyone around you will say, well, being blind, you're never going to be able to do this, that and the other. but not based on any knowledge. So for me, it was, how dare you make an assumption?
Yeah.
I'll be the one that's decided the sport's not for me, or I can't do this, or I can't do that.
Yeah.
So that for me was massively important, building up my self-confidence, sense of self-worth as a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, you're wanting those challenges. The second group was my peers, because a lot of the kids that I was then mixing with were blind from birth, and they did these amazing sporting things naturally. They weren't having to relearn it to do it without sight.
Because you'd be pre-10 or 12, it was a complete different set of skills. Right?
You're not having to listen to it. You're using your sight. You know, and so having the challenge of your siblings, I wanted to be as good or better than these kids that have got these natural abilities, having been blind from birth. So that was a real push for me to try. The third group really was my family, because they got the crystal ball out, and they couldn't see any future. You'd never get a job, you'd never get married, because they'd never met anyone that could see. The images of people with disability in the 60s was very limited. There were very few disabled people on the public arena. So a chance to help get their views changed was important, and them seeing me do these sports and things was part of that. And the fourth group, I suppose, was the general public. You know, there was very limited. You know, suddenly you were a disabled child and not a child with a disability. You was just perceived as being as though you'd had a transplant or been changed overnight.
And I suppose that changing the label is the big shift, isn't it? You know, in terms of going, well, look, Mike's Mike, and he's got a disability, but that disability doesn't define him. He chooses what defines him, and it's social work professional or athlete or all of these things. I had a really funny conversation. When I spoke at Brentwood Rotary Club promote the book, and they were really kind to invite me along, and I spoke about it, and there was a lady who put her hand up at the end and who said, are you sure you wrote this? I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I wrote this. She went, because I've never heard of a kind financial advisor. I was like, fair comment. But I think sometimes we apply these labels without recognising that we can be 20 different things, can't we? And I agree. And it's that, like, just multi-dimensional factor. Like, I think we're probably all guilty of having perceptions that don't
it
apply.
Crops up all the time. You know, people are either worried about using language in case it upset someone. So, you know, I remember one guy asked me how long I'd been unsightly. You know, and I hope I know what he meant. You know, and similarly, my Auntie Anne would not want to say anything to do with seeing or watching or looking.
You know, fear of.
And I'd say, you know, can you imagine taking the words out and changing them? It's like me saying to my mate, "Cheerio, Fred, I'll be feeling you." You know,
well, it depends on how close you are, I suppose.
Friends,
exactly.
But it's just that whole concept. And always, when I used the stick, people almost daily would come up to me and say, "Oh, do you not have a blind dog?" And I'd say, "Well, if I have a blind dog, I'd have to have another dog to show it where to go." Do you mean a guide dog?
I mean, the image of that, just a dog leading a dog leading you, is just absolute genius.
I should have that on a book front.
Exactly. You could get somebody to design it for you. A dog for me dog for me.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the challenge you've got with that, as you say, is then like just like you want an open conversation, don't you, where people aren't afraid to say what they mean
and ask. You know, I mean, if mum's shutting the kids up, you know, why has that man got a dog? Why is that man, you know, what's running with his eyes? And I say to them, fine, you know, more than happy, because if they don't get it from me, someone else is going to make something up that may be wrong.
Or they'll never ask, and they'll just assume, won't they? And that's the challenge. I think kids have, I mean, like, sort of, Sophie, my 11-year-old, it's just got this genius of just asking really direct questions, and it's that element where you wanna encourage that skill.
Yes.
But there's a balance. I don't know whether she's got that balance right, but it's an interesting part.
So that was part of this interview. Now, I know you've been working hard on your quiz. Have you had enough time to do joke of the week?
No.
And so, she's going to look that up, and we're going to.
I think the joke of the week is that you didn't realise the Sahara was the Sahara.
It's true. That was probably the joke.
Yeah, my search history is facts about random countries.
Facts about the Dominican Republic. But I still want. Should we let Charlotte do another quiz next week, Russ? Because I enjoyed that. Yeah. Yeah. Brand new concept. Can you pick one where Russ might have a chance of getting the answer as well?
I don't mind losing. No, I quite enjoyed it.
Right.
I just used it as an excuse to look up interesting facts.
Yeah. No, I like that. Right. Okay. What's the joke of this week?
What did the cheese say when it looked in the mirror?
What did the cheese say when it looked in the mirror, Russ?
Cheese.
Don't know.
Hello, me.
Hello, me. That might be one of my favourite jokes.
They're getting better and better.
They are getting better and better. Well, you need to make them worse and worse.
I'll stop using
Is that Reader's Digest?
No, I'll stop using Reader's Digest and I'll start using Culture.
You can't beat a good Reader's Digest joke.
You guys don't like the Reader's Digest jokes.
Yeah, we like them because they're bad. On that note, have a lovely day, and we'll see you on the Clonage Project soon.
Bye.
Bye.